Hello, and welcome along to the stream tonight. Apologies for not being able to make the stream on Friday lunchtime. Basically, I had too much to do, and I couldn't spare the time to jump on the stream at lunchtime. So I worked through my lunch. Hopefully that won't happen going forward, because I like my lunchtime streams, I'll be honest, but that's the way the cookie crumbled this week. So for today, the plan is to continue looking at the Chocolatey Visual Studio Code extension. We have some decisions to make. Now, I'm hoping that Kim is going to be on the stream. I'm not able to hear you all. Don't tell me that. Everything from my end would suggest that it's going out, but let me check. If there's anyone else in the chat room that can tell me if it's coming through or not. So I've just went on to twitch.tv and I can hear myself, Maurice. So I'm going to say that it might be you. I know you had an issue, was it last week? The week before? So I think it could be you. I don't know why I'm saying, I don't know why I'm talking to you, because you can't hear me. Let me send you a message, hold on. I think it might be you. I think it might be you. Since I can hear myself, if I go to twitch.tv. Didn't you have issues last week, or was it the week before? Hopefully, Maurice is able to confirm that everything is all good. So, what I was saying was, I'm hopeful that Kim is going to be in the chat room at some point today, because he has made a suggestion that I want to follow up with, but I also want to pick his brain about a few things. So let me just get a few things set up here, and then we can chat about what his suggestion was, and then we can move forward from there. So Chocolatey community, and in here we will have the Chocolatey language server, which is here. So let's just check this one. Okay, and get we're up to date, I think. Get Ubase upstream. Don't know why I got. Okay, so originally, when I had been thinking about this, my thought process had been just, so this repository here contains a DLL. Essentially, it's a DLL. Now, I had envisioned just shipping that DLL, and then within the Chocolatey VS Code extension, as an example, if we go over here to the extension, what we'll see is that in order to run that service, we basically do a .NET run. So if we look for server exe, then essentially we do .NET on the server module, passing in the options of the current working directory. And we just let .NET do its thing. Now, Kim suggested that perhaps we don't want to do that, and instead we want to ship a self-contained exe so that the thing that we ship, the language server that we ship, can, or rather, it doesn't take a dependency on having the .NET Core runtime available. It ships a completely standalone exe that can just spin up and be available. Now, the concerns that I had with that is that you're then shipping you're essentially shipping the entire .NET runtime in the exe, and that's fine, but then you need a specific one for Windows, you need a specific one for Mac, and then you potentially need a specific one for Linux. Now, because of the sheer number of variants of Linux, that's where I start to get a little bit fuzzy in terms of, well, do we need to ship multiple different variants in order to cover those bases? And in those edge cases, what do we do if we haven't compiled a specific version? And then in terms of packaging that up, are we then going to package up 3 or 4 different packages, or do we put the exes for every single operating system into a single NuGet package? But then they start to balloon up and up and up, because if you're going to put all the exes into one NuGet package, then that NuGet package becomes massive. Because I was reading an article just before coming on stream where it talked about the fact that a Hello World application, when compiling as a standalone exe, was up to like 70 megs, and that was just for Hello World. Now, it also mentioned that was getting better with an upcoming preview, and I think at the time the preview is now shipped, so there's now the IL linker and the tree shaking that's happening. So I hope I'm not talking to myself here through all of this. Let me just confirm I can still hear it. So no, it's still coming through on Twitch, so I can hear myself in my ears. It's a little bit strange to hear yourself back just like 5 seconds after you've finished saying what you were saying. I'm going to pause it. It's a little bit strange. I think it might be you. I am hoping that it is just you and I haven't been speaking to myself for the last little while. Oh, Kim's there. Kim, can you confirm that you can hear me? Because Maurice says he can't. And I'm hoping I've just not been talking, withering away to myself for the last 10 minutes or so. Kim can hear me. That's good. So I just sort of recapped, Kim, what we were speaking about with regard to creating a self-contained exe for the Chocolatey language server. Now, my concern... So I have a couple of concerns, and I want to kind of go through them with you, and then I'm hoping that we can try it out, and we can generate something and have it. So the first question I have, we kind of spoke around this, but I just want to make sure that what I'm saying makes sense. So if we're creating a self-contained exe, we're going to have to create one for each operating system that we're targeting, correct? So we'd need to create one for Windows, we'd need to create one for Mac, and we'd need to create one for Linux. I've got that part right, correct? I hope. Because if not, then I'm completely off the reservation. Correct. Okay, good. Now, an article that I read just before coming on stream suggested that the standalone exe for Windows for a Hello World application was about 70 megabytes in size. Now, it also suggested that might be getting better, but it's still a sizable chunk of stuff because it's essentially containing everything that is needed. Now, with the IL linker and tree shaking that's coming out, that things might get better, but ultimately, it's still, let's say, 50 megabytes. Okay, so if trimming example, so 40. Let's say 40. Are we then if we go down that route, and we've only got x64 bit architecture, so that's fine. So are we suggesting that we're putting 3 40 megabyte EXEs into a single nupkeg, or are we creating individual nupkegs, one for each operating system? Because if I'm on Windows, I don't want to necessarily fetch an nupkeg that has the Mac OS and the Linux variants. So would you have separate nupkeg, or I'm envisioning that we're still publishing to NuGet and downloading from there, or how do you envision something else? I'll maybe let you type. Individual packages, so that would be my preference too. Good. So individual package, publish to NuGet, and then if I'm on Windows, let's go ahead, download the Windows nupkeg, put it on the file system, and then run it. So that will remove the requirement for having .NET runtime available on the machine, or the .NET Core CLI. I would not want to be responsible for the 18 megabyte overhead. Agreed. So then the follow-up question, so we're publishing the self-contained EXE. The reason that the other way that we could do this would be through a .NET Core global tool, but that would have a requirement to have .NET Core CLI installed, which is what the self-contained EXE is avoiding. So .NET Core global tool is not an option for what we're trying to hear. The NuGet compression is pretty good though, so it would be closer to okay. Right. But am I right in saying, Kim, that there are potentially edge cases where we haven't compiled for a specific variant of, let's say, Linux? So it might work on Ubuntu, but it wouldn't work on CentOS or SUSE or some other variant. In those scenarios, would we want to also ship just the assembly so that they could choose to run .NET Run in the same way that we're currently doing it? Or does that make sense? Because I'm just worried that we will, as far as I know, a self-contained Linux executable should be able to run on every distro. Interesting. Okay. So, follow-up question. How do we go? So currently we have, because I've never done, I've never done this. I know that in Git version we have now got a self-contained EXE being shipped as part of our Chocolatey package. So for the Chocolatey package for Git version is a self-contained EXE that has everything contained within it. So they've done, Arthur's done it over there, but I've never done it anywhere, right? So my question is, how do we take this standalone assembly and create a self-contained EXE that when we run it, we can make use of it? I read a quick article about this just before I came on stream, and it mentioned that all it was an additional parameter passed into the .NET Publish. But is that all it is? And if so, how do I test it? So it only, as of 5.1.3, which is basically the newest one, this came up because someone in the Chocolate community was having an issue, and that's how I found out that was happening. So prior to that, the Choco package for Git version was an IL merged EXE, but that changed as of 5.1.3. So it's brand new. So 5.1.3 is the one. Let me just confirm that I haven't told you a lie there. Let me go back to a conversation that I had with Arthur. Arthur was here. Did I put that in the general channel? It was. Starting with 5.1.3, it's a single file self-contained .NET Core version. So all of the dependencies get extracted to a local temp location at the point of installation or the point of execution. So that was the problem that someone was seeing with the Chocolatey package. They were doing a Choco install of Git version. On initial execution, it was extracting those files to a user-specific temp folder, and then another user using Git version on the same machine wasn't then able to see those files. It was causing problems. So the workaround for that potentially is as an environment variable that you can specify where the EXE's dependencies are extracted to. Okay, so let's have a look. So over here, oh, that's Azure DevOps. That's not going to help. Hold on. Because I like it when you say that things are easy, Kim. So let's go and have a look. So Chocolatey language server, code dot. I don't think I put a dot on there, did I? No, because that's still Azure DevOps. So code dot. Let's have a little look. So in our source, let's close these files. In our source, Chocolatey language server, CSproj file, we are currently targeting .NET Core App 2.1. So I have no qualms about bumping this to a higher level. Would this still be a .NET Core app? And if so, would it just be 3.0 or 3.1? .NET Core. So literally just that. So if I go in here and go into source, .NET build of, let's just see if that works. I'm not convinced that I have got the latest code here. Maybe I do. Am I building that wrong then? I thought we'd fix that. Okay, so we have some work to do then here. So okay, so let's put this back then. 3.1. And this was in the text positions. Oh no, hold on. There's a bunch of stuff in here. Does OmniSharp support something higher than OmniSharp? The protocol server. Is that going to cause us problems? Because that would be a shame. System.range. Just needs to override the range class to use the OmniSharp one. As in here? Hover, open it, OmniSharp. Hover, system.range. OmniSharp dot. Clearly that didn't do what I wanted, so I must be missing something. I think there might be a little bit more to this, Kim, than what you're suggesting there. But I'm hoping that you're just going to come up with a do this. Because all of these are currently failing because of the build failing. So let's see. What happens if we go down to that? Wouldn't make any difference. The actual error was range is ambiguous between. Oh, hold on. I just went back and read the error message. I see what you're saying. Text positions. So that fixes potentially that one. That was in text positions. Might need this here too. Would we? So where's diagnostic? Diagnostic though. You're saying not that one? Can't find it. Change I did is probably enough. Okay. Let's try building it again. Oh, okay. Visual Studio Code has just gone from completely red to working. So I'm curious as to where this was. And now, of course, it comes up. Okay, fine. Okay, so now that I've had that build working, so that build is running, what do I need to do in order to get a self-contained exe spat out of here? Because what I was reading about was, if I go in here and I run, so what it was suggesting I need to do is a .NET publish -r with win x64 configuration release, and then /p publish single file equals true. Now, have I got an output directory? I will need to do this in the cake.recipe, yes, absolutely. But for now, I'm going to just get it working here and prove out what... so is this now not needed then? Or is this article that... was that article that I was reading out of date? Publish... let's have a look at it help. So there's the output directory, fine. Configuration, version suffix, manifest, no build, self-contained, no self-contained. Hi Arthur, how's it going? You might be... great timing. I'm currently trying to create a single file executable for the Chocolatey language server. And I'd mentioned how Git version currently does that as well. And I'd said that you've been through this process. Oh, that's going to be up a level because of where I am. Build artifacts. Publish single file is needed for a single file only. You need self-contained with single file. Okay. So I'm going to do, so I'm doing that. I'm going to say runtime is going to be, I've lost, win-x64 -- self-contained true. No, self-contained true. Like that. Self-contained. No, that looks like a flag. So I should be able to do that, right? What does that do? So, naive question. I love my naive questions. If I wanted to publish for a self-contained exe to run on my Mac, does that build have to happen on a Mac? Or can I do that on my Windows machine? Completely naive question. Which part, Arthur? As in, no, I can't do that? Or, ooh, can happen on any, you can build, oh, even better, right? So what's in here? So this, that exe looks a little small. I was expecting to be bigger than that. So how do I go, so do I still need another flag, which is to take everything that's in here and to stick it into that exe? Yes, because it's not a single file. Okay, so what's the additional flag? So did I miss something? Publish single file is needed for a single file only. So that's what, so that's the -p, that's this part. Publish, that is what you was typing earlier. Right, so publish single file. Okay, well, we'll get there yet. Publish single file equals true. If I run that, publish single file is an invalid value for the self-contained parameter for the process framework references task. The self-contained parameter is of type system.boolean. That makes no sense. Publish single file equals true is an invalid value for the self-contained parameter. The self-contained parameter is of type change p to be 4 dash dash self-contained. Oh, I see. I see, sorry. Okay, that happened a little bit too quick. Hold on. Oh, but it did balloon it up. Hold on. So let's delete all that stuff. Let's do it again. Interesting. Okay. So. Interesting. Okay, so let me see if I've got this right. So that Chocolatey language server kind of was, Maurice, wasn't it? That Chocolatey language server.exe now contains everything that would be required to run that exe on Windows with no .NET framework, no .NET Core installed. It would just run. And the same if I were to change the runtime to be Mac or Linux, then it would generate me an exe. No, hold on. Let's see what. I'm assuming that this is what Git version is currently doing. So we look here. Argument customizations. Okay, so this was the next one I wanted to have a wee play with. So let's have a wee play with this. So we've currently got. Let's make some of these smaller. Let's see what you guys can see. So let's bring this up. So I'm currently doing that. So if I were to go over here and do /p publish trimmed equals true. So we've currently got a 70.5 megabyte file. So if we do this, what does that give us? It might take slightly longer. And then I'm assuming that this final one, Arthur, here, for include symbols in single file, is literally to take that PDB and put it inside that exe. Oh, look at that. So we've gone from a 70 meg file down to a 38 meg file. That's a big difference. So let's put that final one that Arthur's got in there on here. So let's do /p : include symbols in single file equals true. So that should then literally pick up that PDB and put it into that exe. Although, oh, it's maybe not cleaned up again. So let's clean them up and run it. Look at that. So that gives us a true. Okay. So it's pretty cool. Let's get another wee PowerShell up here. And let's cd into that folder. So cd into C, GitHub, organizations, Chocolatey community, cd into the Chocolatey language server folder, and then into the build artifacts folder. Oh, what's that? There's also the publish ready to run flag. Although I've not seen any benefit by using that, though. It's supposed to minimize the cold start time. Okay. But if I run this then, this should just run. Now I don't know whether we're actually going to see any output, because I don't think we have any output. But in theory, that's now hosting the Chocolatey language server process, meaning that our Visual Studio Code extension would communicate with that, correct? So, if I were to, how could I do this easily? I'm just wondering what I would need to do to generate an exe compile for the Mac that I could then put over onto my machine over here to then see stuff happening. Correct and correct, there won't be any output. Okay, so let's trim that, let's stop that. So what do I, naive questions all around tonight. Let's go here on Mac/Linux without exe. I'm not sure what you mean by that. So if I go to the start of this, what do I need to put into there, into that runtime? What do I need to put into here to build on a Mac? Did it tell me what were the available options? Runtime. Runtime. No, one runtime. No. Change OSXX. Okay, I'm willing to try that. So OSX-X64. We'll give that a battle. Berlin. Look at that, Arthur. Thank you very much. So, oh, there's a link. Let's bring that up. Copy to clipboard. Let's bring this up. Thank you very much, people. Oh, hold on. Oh yeah, okay. Portable. And then there's specific, if you wanted to target a specific one. Okay. Minimum OS version is 10.12. So if you needed an earlier one, you'd have to build specifically for that. Okay, I can get behind that. Okay, so I haven't got an exe this time. I've got something. Okay. But on Linux, you will need the native libraries that .NET Core uses. Okay, so help me out with that a little bit, Arthur. What does that mean? But on Linux, you will need the native libraries that .NET Core uses in order to work. What does that mean? That's something that I would have to include? Or, there we go. Copy link to clipboard. .NET Core 3.1 treats Linux as a single operating system. There's a single Linux build per chip architecture for supported. Okay, so that answers one of the questions that I had. libcurl and so on. Okay. So if I see what you're saying. I see. So native. So what you said was, but on Linux you will need the native libraries. I see. Okay. So we're not bundling those, but in order for .NET Core, the self-contained exe that we're generating, or in order for it to function on Linux, on certain distributions, there is an assumption that things like libcurl, libssh, lib whatever are already installed on that operating system. If they're not, then it won't work. I see. Okay. Most of these, if not all, are usually already installed in a desktop distro. Okay, but so that's cleared up a lot in my head. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. Okay, so going back to what we generated before. So I'm assuming that that's the exe that for Windows, and this thing here is the thing that is just been compiled for running on my Mac. So if I were to pick this up and put it onto my Mac and attempt to execute it, I should get essentially the same thing as we got here, which was it would start a process and it wouldn't output anything, but it's now hosting the Chocolatey language server process that could then be interrogated by our VS Code. Yep, so now test it. Okay, so I mean, I need to get this file over to here. Let me just have a ponder about that. Let me copy this to here. Let me ponder how I'm going to do this. That is not going to be accessible. That's annoying. Let's see if I can get it out of this machine. See, temp. Can I put it into there? I thought I had. See, I was also just going to put it into the Vagrant folder, but it doesn't seem to be there. It's annoying. See, GitHub, organizations, Chocolatey community, Chocolate Web server, build artifacts, copy. That copy paste isn't working. Why is that not working? I don't want this stream to then be about getting this file off of that folder. Let's see if I can figure out. I'm not sure if I can figure out a new way of doing this. .10 that's slightly promising. Hold on. Doesn't look. See if I type that right. Name a temporary file host, Kim. And I'll go down that route. Just go Google temporary file hosting stroke transfer. 11. Take a file, send any file. Filedropper.com. That sounds amazing. Filedropper.com. Upload 5 gigabytes. So far, so good. I thought this was your go-to. Let's just give it a try. GitHub, organizations. We're not really giving anything away, are we? Language server, build artifacts, that one. So it's uploading. So I'm assuming that I'm going to get a link from here. Yeah, I'm not signed into any of that kind of services on this VM. So share your personal link. Anyone got a Mac that wants to give this a try? I don't think it'll run on your iPad, Maurice. I can't. There's only so much that we can do. There's only so much we can do. 62. We're getting there. Come on. Because if this works, we then need to manipulate the. And we do not want to share. No, we definitely don't want to. I'm still adhering to my New Year's resolution, and I haven't shared any credentials so far that I'm aware of. So copy. See if that comes over here. That didn't copy over to there either. That's annoying. I'm just going to paste this into here. Or maybe it did. Was it as simple as that? Oh, hold on. No, it did. Okay. Upload your file. Download this file. There's lots of green buttons. And it's a case of knowing which one is which. I'm going to say it's this one. And then I have to fill in a R. Download now. Oh, it's downloading, folks. So unfortunately I can't show you this bit, but let's see where it's downloading it to. Downloading it to my downloads folder. So if I come over here and I go up a couple of levels and I CD into my downloads folder. There we go. So it's currently downloading 35 megabytes of 42. So we're getting there. It's getting close. Maybe next on the agenda, compile one thing at a time. No. Okay, so Chocolatey language server. No, hold on, that didn't work. Hold on. LS. Do I need to do anything to this file? Because Chocolatey. Oh, I'm not even seeing it yet. Hold on. I'm not convinced that I'm in the right folder here. Hold on. No. Yeah, it's not even finding the file, so I'm not. Hold on. Chocolatey hyphen language hyphen server. Permission denied, it's saying. So do I need to like chmod that thing? Chmod. It's saying permission denied. Missing exits. Maybe it was because it was built on Windows. So I just did. So what I just did was I did chmod -x and then the file name. I don't really want to do a sudo, I'll be honest. Says command not found when I try to sudo it. I had the same problem with a different program, compiled on Linux instead, and everything worked then. Okay, so I think we can come back to that part. So, in theory now, though, what we have is a so can I do, okay, it's a follow-up question while I think about it. Can I do both of those builds at the same time? So, can I do, you don't want to remove the X, you want to add it. Oh, did I do it wrong? I was going from memory. Hold on. I always go back to this website, and I think you're probably right. Tutorials, setting up a new project. It is a plus. Okay, hold on. Sorry, my bad. Let's do that again. chmod +x on Chocolatey language server. Okay. Ooh, that did something. I am a Linux sysadmin, trust me. No. Ooh, okay. So now it's running. Now it's running. It's not outputting anything, but it's now running that bad boy. Okay. Okay. So I think Arthur then answered the question that I was going to have. Can I run them at the same time? I.e., can I pass in multiple runtimes? But based on the response there, I'm going to say it has to be done one by one. And here's a link. Let's have a look. Okay, so for each var runtime and parameters native runtime. So if I were to go to the parameters file, which is in utils, I think, then in here there was a native runtimes. Okay. And then it's doing it for each over all of those. And then what it was doing was running this part, which was the argument customization. Okay, so none of this is included in cake.recipe that's being used for this thing. So we would need to modify the pack to, okay. So follow-up question. No win x86 and win RM. It was, or was it just, I think it was just win64. Win x64. Native runtimes. Yeah. Okay, so follow-up question. That just generates me the okay, that makes sense, Arthur, because I would be in a similar situation. So all that would generate me is the files here. I would still need to run some mechanism to get those files into a NuGet package, or is there some mechanism within .NET Core pack to wrap that file in a NuGet package, or is that on us to do manually? And let's just see if this part works. So Linux x64. Okay. I mean, and that's fine, I guess. So let's go over here and just see what this does. Linux. So we had, that says OXX. This is obviously Win, but we'll put it on there just for completeness. And, oh, because it's running, I bet. Did I leave it running? I did. Let's close that. Try again. Okay, so back over here, and let's run the Linux one and see what we get out of there. I'm going to think it's just going to be Chocolatey language server, if I had to guess. Let's have a look. Okay. I'd mentioned that earlier, I think, Arthur, just before you came on the stream, that I haven't tried that environment variable you told me about yet for the Chocolatey package for Git version, but I did pass on the details to the person who raised the question in terms of extracting the files associated with that. Okay. So now that we have this knowledge, in theory, we could modify the cake build to generate a set of nupkegs, one for Windows, one for Linux, and one for Mac, that would allow us to publish some nupkegs that are around 40 megabytes in size. That assembly could then be downloaded and executed in the Mac or on the machine that's running Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio. When running, it would then allow the communication to happen with the Visual Studio Code extension or the Visual Studio. And yes, you're right. So by the time we zip this up, it'll be smaller. Absolutely. So I want to test this out then. So if we were to go into, so bear with me here, if I CD up a level and go into Chocolatey VS Code, right? So let's open up this guy. So right now we have a Windows, so let's change the name of this thing again back to this. Let's grab this. So right now the server executable is this thing here. Code, for instance, codecov.exe packs Windows, Linux, and OS X into a single package. The size of the package is 4, so that's all of them. With each, okay. So that's not terrible, but I still like the idea of shipping the individual packages, one for each one. So cannot find. I'm just wondering what I need to modify to this to let it run everything. So the server module was one of these ones, I think. Language server paths. Let's get rid of this guy. Yeah, so that's server module. Oh, okay. So it, depending on which one is more optimal, it could be bigger or it could be smaller. Okay, that's fine. So I don't think we need the server module anymore because we won't be doing that. So let's just start trimming this down. So language server paths, we're not going to have that, but we might have one for Windows, Mac, and Linux, depending on the operating system. But come back to that. So let's get rid of this guy. Okay. Let working directory be. Let's clean up this a little bit. Working path is going to be. Let's just leave that. So I'm going to comment out debug at the minute. And what I'm going to say is that command is just going to be, the command is literally just going to be let me get the path. It's going to be this. Where did you go? You're here. Kim's going away for a few minutes, that's fine. But thank you for your help thus far. Keep going with the wrong one. So if I do this, args, I'm not going to give it any args. And options are current working directory. You know what? I'm just going to take those off as well. Why are you complaining? Did I miss one? What did I do? Command, colon. Server options, the type command string is not assigned multi type. Property debug is missing. Oh, hold on. So we do need to put debug on. Okay, fine. Fine. So let's take the server module out and put that on there. And then this is going to be the same. So let's take this. Let's put that in there. And then let's take the options out. Don't want or need those at the minute, I don't think. And the comma we need to put back in. So server.exe we're not using anymore. So right now we go over here and we say task manager and we have a little look. Then we're currently not, there's nothing running called Chocolatey language server. But if we now run this guy, in theory it should spawn the Chocolatey language server.exe and we should start getting IntelliSense prompts back, or not IntelliSense prompts, we should start getting squigglies in our new spec file to indicate that there is something broken. So let's see what it does. See if it spawns something called console. Sure. Running, deprecated, fine. Let's see something there. Could not start Chocolatey language server. Why not? Couldn't start client Chocolatey language server. Why not? Okay, so that didn't work. Control Shift could not start. That was the error, wasn't it? Server options. What was the... let's get the error back again. That's something we'll have to play with as well. I'm just looking back at my Mac just now, and there's an error message saying Chocolatey language server cannot be opened because the developer can't be verified. So that's something that we might have to worry about as well, in terms of being able to execute it. I don't know how we handle that. That's a different problem though. That's maybe a good reason to. Oh, I'll bring that back up with Kim when he comes back. Let's get rid of these. So F10 over that. Get through these. Disable language server undefined. So we come in here. We get our server options. We get our client options. And then we start the sucker. And now we're into the weeds of hooks and all sorts of things. Couldn't start client Chocolatey language server. So a couple things that just come up there, Kim. One being, I went away again. Output tasks. Oh, I see. It's just the escaping of potentially just that. So back up here, we do this. So I just went back to my Mac, Kim, and I never spotted this when I ran it before, but when I tried to run the self-contained.exe or the self-contained assembly, it came up with a warning on my Mac saying Chocolatey language server cannot be opened because the developer cannot be verified. So that is a setting that I have. That is a setting that I have on my Mac saying don't run anything unless it's from a verified developer. How do we get around that? Or in fact, how does Git version get around that? How do we get around things like that? Or what do I need to do to become verified so that this self-contained exe can run out of the box? So it's a good question for Arthur, maybe. But at the minute, that's a good question, Arthur. Where do the self-contained exes for Mac and Linux currently go? Because currently we are shipping the .NET Global tool. Where do those artifacts go? And can I try running one on my Mac? Let's see if this works. Dun, dun, dun. Run. Oh. So this is debug console output. So where are my problems? Oh, look. Oh, it is there, look. There's my metadata. Oh, look at that. So why is it not throwing some of the errors? I thought this was a rule that we had for this being so it is so don't get me wrong, it is working because it is flagging at least a couple of problems here. So this new spec file is being correctly interpreted now. The Chocolatey language server.exe must be running now on my machine. Maybe. Or would it be running as a sub-process of Visual Studio Code? There it is. So Chocolatey language server is now running as a sub-process of the VS Code exe. Interesting. But regarding would, because we're I'm just wondering, since we're spawning the exe from within VS Code, I wonder if we kind of get around that. But Git version wouldn't be able to do that. But so I'd have to try. I'd have to play with that a little bit as well. So this is now working as expected, I think. Is it? So in theory, on Windows at least, yes. So what we would need to do in terms of this thing is where I deleted the server modules language server paths, I would need to augment that to include the name of the assembly for each one. What's this? So what's this? This is the same link that Arthur sent me the other day. So are we saying that I'm not clear on what this is going to help us with? Yeah, why do I care about this one? Why do I care about this? Because I'm still going to run the exe. So regardless of where the exe puts itself, I'm going to download and extract the exe somewhere. So we're going to look to NuGet.org. We're going to find the package ID that we want to play with. We're going to download that nupkeg. We're going to extract it to somewhere on my machine. I'm going to run the exe from that location. I'm not running it from here. It was response to your extract location, OSX. Right, okay. 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 So, giving this little experimentation that we've done here, what if wrap and so the thought process there was that NuGet.org built in has the concept of versioning. So within the settings for the language server extension, you could specify that you want to use a specific version, and then we can query NuGet and download the nupkeg from there. You could do something similar with releases, but it's just not as clean. You have to do some additional work. Was the thought process? It just seemed cleaner, but I mean, I'm not against putting it somewhere else, but in the interim for testing, I mean, where would we put I would want to be able to publish something. I was envisioning publishing to MyGet as an example, and then having the exes there or the nupkegs on MyGet to then pull them from that source, download and run them, as opposed to GitHub packages or feeds. Yes, but regardless, my point was use a NuGet v3 feed. So whether it's feeds, whether it's MyGet, whether it's GitHub packages, whether it's something else, you would just specify the feed URL, and then we would go and figure out what versions are available of the specific package ID that you're interested in, and then download and install it from there. So I wasn't trying to make it overly complicated, but that was the thought process. So shall we make a decision on that? So where are we going to ship the releases to? Or where are we going to ship the assemblies to? Are we going to tar them up and put them in GitHub releases? Or are we going to bundle them into a nupkeg and publish them to a NuGet v3 feed and then consume them from there? Hands up for GitHub releases. If I don't hear from anyone, then we're going to go the other way. I'm not hearing anything yet. +1. So Arthur thinks GitHub releases. Okay. Hands up for a NuGet v3 feed. I'm waiting. I'll wait for people. +1 for my NuGet. So that's 1-1. So it looks like Kim's got the deciding vote. if anyone else is in the chat room wants to play the game. I mean, my only hesitation of going GitHub release is because there's no easy mechanism of publishing it there. Since we would allow changing the path to the executable, there is no reason of why not having both, to be honest. But my vote would be GitHub release. Really? But how do I get them there? So that means, because I'm just gonna lay it out. So the way I had envisioned doing this is that every build on the develop branch would push the nutkegs to the temporary feed. So are we saying that we're going to create a release every commit into the develop branch? I don't, or how would I, you know what I mean? How would I get folks to use the latest release version or the latest development version? I could see GitHub releases being useful for the final release, but in the interim development stages, I don't see it being that useful. Unless I'm missing something in what you guys are suggesting. I'm willing to be converted. I shall hold on for some responses. Running the dev release should probably need additional configuration on the user's end. Only stable releases should be... Well, okay, but again, so what we're saying is that the final release would go to GitHub releases. Absolutely, I've got no problems with that. And that would just be a path to, in the configuration that we publish, we would get them from there. But so in the interim development stages, we would then consume them from v3 myget feed. So essentially, we would support both mechanisms. So you could pull it from a GitHub release, or you could pull it from a myget, a NuGet v3 feed. All right. But regardless of all of this, we need to update the cake build process to generate some assemblies that we can then put into NuGet packages. I think. Let's see if there's any more comments before we maybe start switching over to that. Or it would need to manually download from AppVeyor, then the user would need to specify the path manually for dev releases, perhaps. So the one way to start with being GitHub releases. So in order for this to be functional in the development stages, I need to publish it to... Well, you're saying that one. Okay. So, I mean, that's the one that makes sense to me. Okay, so let's back up a step and let's see if we can modify the cake build process to include some NuGet packages. So let's go to our... Let's close this guy. Because even if, well, let's not even go that far. Let's modify our cake build process to include the generation of the assemblies for each identified runtime. So right now, let's close this guy out and let's go over here. So currently what we're doing within our... So we're using cake.recipe. Cake.recipe is running .NET Core. So .NET Core is going to, where are we at? CD Chocolatey language server. Let's just look and see what the build's doing. because I think what we want to do is we want to add in another task that we either want to add in another task or we want to override the one that's currently there for let's see what it does. Was .NET Publish available in the recipe itself? So, yes and no. It's the .NET Publish is hidden, if you like. So the way that Cake Recipe currently works is in order to get the files into here, when it's a .NET Core build, it will run .NET Publish just with the default settings to publish the artifacts into this for each project that is contained within it. So right now, this is the output for the application to put it into there. By the way, since it will be published as a package, there isn't really a need to compile to a single file only. Well, no, I was going to say it makes things easier in terms of packaging, but it's cleaner to have a single exe. Is cleaner, maybe. I'm trying to think of any other reason to not do it like that. Yeah, I don't know. Cleaner for who? Good question. The end user won't care. No, I agree. So let me see if I've understood the question correctly. So when we were doing this, can I still do the publish trimmed when I don't do publish single file? So will it still shake down the contents of that folder? Okay, so that was going to be one of my arguments. Include symbols in single file true wouldn't be required anymore. I don't have any good reasons. Is there any good reasons for not packaging it up into a single file? Why would I not do that? I mean, I genuinely don't mind. I'm just curious at this point. But while I'm waiting for a response there, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to create a new task, and we're going to say var. What are we going to call this? What are we doing? Only if the user has to download manually and unzip. Yes, not having the executable self-extract anything the first time it is run. It only increases the use of the I/O and cold startup time. I agree with that, but that would be a one-time hit. So once it's done once, it doesn't need to be extracted again, unless it gets tidied up for some reason. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm not against, but let's try and get something. So let's do var .net publish task is equal to task. Let's do that again. Task with action .net publish. So let's borrow heavily from what Arthur's done over here. So it wasn't that one. It was this one. So let's borrow some of this. Okay. Let's just paste this in. Oh, that didn't really work. Let's put this in here. Start from there. So for each runtime in there, well, we won't have that, but let's roll forward and steal his native runtimes. Copy, copy, copy. Paste, paste, paste. Runtimes is a public dictionary. Guess we don't need that, do we? No, we could just save our runtimes. So for each runtime in there, runtime.value, .NET Core publish settings, parameters, runtime, no restore, no restore false. I would set that to true, no? Because we'll have already done it. That'll need to be build parameters dot configuration. You need to have no restore to false. All right, okay. Shows how much I know. Okay. So what we're suggesting is to take this off just now. Otherwise, you may have problems with publishing packet. Oh, okay, I see. So .NET Core Publish is not going to be that. That's going to be source chocolate levels. Can I use the solution, or do I have to go to the... I can use the solution, right? I don't need to do the CSProj file. All right? And let's get rid of this anyway. So source chocolatey. That would work too. I mean, I'm just going to hard code the crap out of it just now, but build parameters dot paths dot files dot, that sounds right. I'll soon find out. MS build settings. Do we have something like that? I think maybe we do. Tools, recipe, content, parameters, MS build. I thought we made that available. Look at that. I thought we brought that out as a... Or did we do that in a newer version of Kate.recipe? Bet that's what it is. We would need to change the source as well to be Let's make sure that we did actually do that before we... cake, contrib. Did we not? Oh, I thought we did. We spoke about it, didn't we? Or is that still one of the open issues? Issues. Milestone. What are you sending me there? I thought we were gonna do it. It's a little bit annoying. MS build settings. There's lots of stuff going on there. Wow. I don't think we need all of those. I think we should maybe just borrow this just now. What do you think? I'm just going to borrow this. And watch me go. Output directory. We don't have a native output. So I'm just going to put this into can remove the with property configuration. What did I put in there? Oh yeah, so catch. I was going to look to see what that was. Core FX version. Core FX. It's not a problem anymore. Here. Core FX version. So we changed it to that, so let's just and the semicolon. Oh, hold on. I like compile errors. What else? We should probably look to see what that was. Solution file path. Build parameters. Solution file path. It does indeed keep me on my toes. Blah blah blah. Output directory. Where do we want to put it? Let's have a look and see where we can put things. Paths. Paths. Temp build. Where's temp build? Temp build goes into that one. So what I think we want is build parameters dot temp build dot combine can also be specified this here. No benefit in doing it either way. I kind of like leaving this option here in case we come back to the side that we want, so it's kind of in one place. So parameters temp build combine. Let's just start with that, shall we? See where we get to. So what we want to do is, having done that, back to here, .NET Core Pack. So we can say, because we're defining it here, we can say dot is dependee of is dependee. I'll get there. Of .NET Core Pack and is dependent on. Let's just only do that after we've done this. Where did it go? Here. And dot is dependent on that. See what that does. What does that get us? I'm going to suggest a compilation error. Yeah. Doesn't contain a definition called temp build. It does. Or was that on paths? Here. Temp build. Temp build directories. Come back to that one. Temp build parameters dot paths dot directories. So that. Okay. It's 960. Cannot convert file path to string. Dot full path. That would be the obvious one, Arthur. I think it's full path at once. There we go. Yes, I know you don't exist anymore. Leave me alone. Let's see where we get to. To both work. So, coming to the top of the hour, so we will need to think about wrapping this up. But I think we've made some headway. We've made some good headway, I think. And if we get this working and we get this generating packages, then in theory, what we should get then is, well, what we need to then look into is the sourcing of those NuGet packages from within the VS Code extension. Oh, look, so we've got WinX64. And we've got a Linux x64. And we should get an OS X 64. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. So this has got a Chocolatey language server file that then has all the things in it. OS X has the file with a bunch of things in it, and then this thing has Chocolatey language server.exe plus all the stuff in it. Interesting. So Kim suggested that we should make it into the pendee of is dependee of. Is that the way you had it round? Would probably be a dependee of create new get packages. .NET Core pack. Yeah. Don't like .NET Core publish. I'm going to say create native assemblies. You need to publish program before creating a package after all. Is dependee of. Yes. Because then we're going to augment the. Yes, no, you're right. Create native assemblies. But we're not creating the packages at this point. So this is just generation of the assemblies. Create native assemblies. Create native runtime assemblies. I think I like that better. But then this is wrong now. We don't actually need it because we're not doing. That's just okay. And then I want to put dot combine with native dot combine with runtime. There aren't true. So what are they then? Created native runtime files? Fine. I'll put it back in. .NET Core publish. Fine. Some are awesome. That's a fair point. Let's go with that. We are literally just running .NET Core publish, so let's just leave it at that. So I changed the output directory slightly. I changed this, so let's have a little sneaky peek. Make sure that it didn't break anything. Maurice. Alright, I've been debugging download of Chocolatey the whole night to just figure out that I needed to update my script due to... That was fairly well documented, Maurice. Paul will point you at the multitude of tweets and blog posts and various other communication mechanisms that are now required to make that work. The install scripts have all been updated. The install instructions have all been updated. But yeah, I feel your pain. And I think, yes, you're right, Kim, we can argue it. Naming's hard. We can argue that to death another day. So if this works, we should then be able to go into here and we could create a new spec and a NuGet folder, place some new spec files in there, set the source location. Now, how is that going to work though? How's that going to work? Oh, there was a big long discussion about that. Out of the box, it depends on what the default security protocol manager system default is. So there's no guarantee. So Win Server 2019 definitely out of the box works, but on that one, you would still need to specify it in at the shell. I mean, out of the box, the ciphers are there, but it's whether the shell natively has that as the default. At least it isn't. I agree. There is a command that you can run to verify that. Now, I have in my head now how this is going to work with cake.recipe, because if I just go in here and create a new folder called new spec, and I create a new folder called NuGet, then it's going to I'm just thinking about the paths that need to be. What was that? I just heard what I thought was my garage door opening, but it's maybe just a wind outside. Freaking out a little bit here. In a second. Bear with me 1 sec. I'll check something. Yeah, I think I'm fine. I don't think someone's here to attack me. It's all good. Copy link to clipboard. Link Kim. If I go over here, you get, and then yeah. So this is what I thought I was going to need to navigate out. So the working folder when NuGet is executing will be the. That's what I don't know. I don't know what the. Let's just dig into it. Or publish it to. Yeah, but what's going through my head, Kim, is on the NuGet.cake file. On.NET Core Pack. No, create NuGet package. Create NuGet packages. Find the new spec files. For each new spec file, set the base path to be the published libraries.combine new spec file name to string. So that's not going to work, because that new spec file, I think it maybe is Ciara, yes. That base path isn't going to exist, because the new spec file get file name without extension is not going to map to anything that we're publishing. So if I give it a new spec file name that doesn't exist, will that base path just ignore it and default to something else? Or will it try to be smart? If we might need to override this. We may need to override it. Publish applications. Okay. Let's give it a try then, shall we? So let's go back to... Let's just grab this. And we'll maybe just do this as a final. So pick a name. So what do we want the new spec to be called? So this is going to be Chocolatey language server when .new spec. What do folks think about that? Chocolatey awesome LSP Win64. I like the inclusion of the Win64. Chocolatey. I might remove awesome, maybe. Chocolatey LSP Win64 new spec. I like that. Let's paste in what Kim created here for us. ID Chocolatey LSP Win64. I'm just going to borrow all of your stuff just now, just to see if it works, Kim. So this is obviously let's just put this in tools, and we said that this was gonna be I think we're going to need to put build artifacts in here. Build artifacts / native / Win64. Win64. Let's see what that does. Should probably check what other package names are other packages. Which other package are you referring to? Is there one that's close? Yeah, I'm not sure if I have. I mean, there's the PowerShell one, but I think they're doing something different. So I'm not sure we can borrow their one. Yeah, no, not that PowerShell would be the only one, but they're doing something slightly different. So let's run this at least once to see if we get close to generating something. And then I'll go from there. The next execution will do it as an exclusive task and just run the one thing. So it's building stuff, getting there. Could not find part of the path, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it didn't fail, but it's looking in Chocolatey Community, Chocolatey Lamb Server, build artifacts. So that's obviously not there. So it is see GitHub organizations, Chocolatey Community, Chocolatey Language Server, build artifacts. Oh, temp native, idiot. Build artifacts, temp. Oh, put that in the wrong place. So let's do target. Try that again. target equals create new get packages. Exclusive. See what it does. File not found. Oh, it's a star, isn't it? Hold on. I did that wrong, didn't I? Slash star. Is it like that? It's been a while. Did I miss that on your one? What am I doing wrong? Can I create a dependency that has no packages nor content? What am I doing wrong? Source. Tools. Dun, dun, dun. I'm not sure. Is that a convention? Is that, I mean, is there precedence for doing that? I mean, is runtimes a valid folder within a NuGet package? No idea either. Copy. Oh, I see. Target arm, you must place them in a folder named runtimes within subfolders. Maybes. Okay. But what am I doing wrong here? Why is this new spec file? Why can't it find the things with the things? Let's go back another level. Let's take that star off. File not found. Oh, is it just a slash? I just want it to work. I'm clearly doing something wrong. Because it's not working. You can't use a directory as a file source. What am I missing in your one though? Oh, that's a file. Hold on. I see what you're doing. You partially use clubbing for selecting files. Right, so, but that's not what I tried though. Sorry, I misread what you were doing here. That's an actual file. So that should work then, right? But then I tried that, so it's still not finding. It's still not finding anything in that folder. There should be something in that folder, right? Not that folder, but temp native WinX64 has got a bunch of stuff in there. So whatever it's doing, it is not finding those things. I'm going to have to come back to this because it's getting to my bedtime. So we almost got there. We almost got to a point where we were generating NuGet packages with the content of the natively compiled exes. Didn't quite get there, but we are close, I think. I think it's literally just I may have to run this with diagnostic verbosity to see exactly what the I will still be up for a few more hours. Why are you, Kim? Why are you still up for a few more hours? Get checkout minus B. Native runtime generation. I don't really care. Generation from develop. Slept way too long today, so we'll be able to. Okay, I feel that one. So what have we done? We have done blah blah blah. Yeah. Initial working. And then do a here git push origin. Git push setup stream, absolutely. And GitHub. Why does that not work? GitHub.com/Chocolatey community. Language server. Campaign pull request. Draft. It looks like this is your first time opening a pull request in this project. Yes. Initial working. Reviewers. Let's have Kim draft pull request. Worst pull request ever in terms of no information, no nothing. But there you go. Dentist appointment tomorrow, and really don't want the time for that to arrive. Right, okay, so that's up, ready for you to have a look at, Kim. So if you want to take that for a spin, that'd be great. I'm going to sign off for the night. Thank you, Kim and Arthur, for your input on generating a single exe. Thank you, Maurice, for joining us as well. I apologize about TLS 1.2, but it is security for the win. So thank you for your support in coming along for the stream tonight. Always appreciate it. So and if you got any of the moderation queue done as well, that is great, because that queue has been growing a little bit. So where are we at with regard to it now? Paul said he was going to be looking at it today. I don't know if he got to it. No, I don't think he got to it. So yeah, good night everyone. I'm going to sign off. Talk to you all on Friday, hopefully. Bye.